we do need a Vanessa Williams biopic. Like
Oh,
it
yeah.
needs to happen. Is the anything in the works? Who
Yeah.
do you ever see playing you?
We're working on both a documentary, which I can't wait to dive into, and a biopic too. So I've got two working simultaneously. I think I would love the doc to come out just so people will see my life in context with the time. The 80s were much different than now. The 90s were different than now. The 2000s were different than now. The early, So I would love so people could see the actual state of the world where I was working through. And then, the biopic, maybe it's simultaneously, but I think that will help fuel the interest. And in terms of a biopic, my choice is an amazing young talent. I worked with her. We did Sondheim on Sondheim together at the Hollywood Bowl some years ago, and she had just finished school at a musical theater major at University of Michigan, and had the same teacher that I had in his last class before he retired. So we were talking about Brent Wagner, who was my teacher back in the 80s at Syracuse, and her name is Solea Pfeiffer, and she not only is a musical theater badass, but also has the sensitivity and the look that I want. So she's my pick, Solea Pfeiffer.
Oh, that is so exciting. I would love to see a documentary, the biopic, and I mean, for the younger folks out there, I really can't put into words. It is one of the greatest comeback stories. July marks 40 years since you resigned from Miss America, and I remember your
40
speech.
years, yes.
40 years, yeah,
Yes.
July of 1984. A lot of folks may not know, for the younger listeners, that you only had like a few weeks left, and this thing happens, and you were getting death threats. Didn't they have you like in a Pope mobile because they were afraid you were going to get shot because you're this black woman? I mean, it was crazy. But I remember your speech. There was no crying. You just seemed really powerful. You didn't seem. I'm sure you were upset to some degree, but you weren't sobbing and begging. You resigned and said it is what it is. And I think at that moment, at least for a lot of folks, especially in black communities, we all felt she ain't going nowhere. She ain't gonna let you break her.
The actual I was so many people wanted me to fight for the crown because I had won in September of '83, so I had just had like a couple weeks left to go with after a full reign, and a lot of people said, "You've proven it, you've won fair and square. Fight for the crown." And so going into the actual press conference, there were people with signs saying "Fight, fight, fight," and I had just decided a few hours before, you know what, I want to move on with my life. And that's when I decided to resign and just move ahead, as opposed to stay in it. And so a lot of people there was a huge groan when I actually did my speech. And it was it was time for me. I just wanted to move on with my life. And I also knew that a lot of people had expectations. And Miss America was not who the end all and be all of my life. So I wasn't destroyed by the fact that I could move on to a career that I knew that I was going to be able to make. So, and I don't cry easily. I cry easily when it's my kids or heartache, or romance gone down. But everything else, I'm pretty strong.
Well, a few years ago, this happened. A few years ago, some folks with Miss America apologized. I I rolled my eyes. I was like, "Child, please." But did you feel it? Did you feel the apology, Miss Vanessa? I was like, "Child, I don't know. She's the most famous Miss America in the world. Now y'all apologize." And I know no one who was there at the time was there when they apologized. I think they had all resigned, whatever.
Right.
But were you
Yeah.
feeling the apology?
So they asked me back, and I was like, no. And they said, well, what can we do? And I said, listen, I talked to my mom. I said, they want me to come back. And my mother's like, well, only if they apologize. So I said, listen, if I come back, I'm going to sing my own song with my own band in front of live people live. So people know that this is me and I'm doing it live. and my mother's going to be there, and you put not only myself but my family through it. So Sam Haskell, who I was running the pageant at the time, I'd known him for years because he was an agent and at William Morris, and ended up taking over the franchise. So it was kind of I didn't know what was going to happen and what he was going to say, but that was the agreement. So you know, I certainly did get some comments from like, too late, too little, too late. Why
Right.
are you doing it? But again, I wanted to show that, listen,
Yeah.
this I'm here, and I've proven what I said at my 20-year-old announcement. This is Vanessa Williams from Miss New York, whatever, that I was going to do it, and I did it. So that's what I wanted to kind of illustrate.
Last question before you go. Again, Legs Keep Dancing. Check it out. It's a great song. We need a little bit of joy right now, to be honest with you. I do want to ask you, I don't know if I'm just getting older, but when I think about late 80s, 90s, I just feel like it was a golden era of music. And now you barely hear a ballad with a number one hit. I don't even know if I Will Always Love You came out today, if it would be a big hit. I don't know if Save the Best for Last would be a hit now. Like, I feel like music is just so bad, but I just feel like there's a golden era that's just gone. And I just wonder, as a musician, do you feel that, or am I just, now I'm 47 years old, I'm just not with the times anymore? Like, it just feels so different. Where's the powerhouse singers? Where's a smooth ballad? You can't even do a Quiet Storm segment with songs after 2005. What do you think?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff, there are no bridges, so it's just a groove, which is true. So you can groove, but the song structures that we were, two verses, a bridge, and back to a bridge, AAB, AABA, is not really, the norm anymore. It's more grooves and also melodies. The reason why melodies that last, that haunt you, is because they're easy enough to remember, and there's not a lot of riffing. So it's like, what is the melody? Please tell me what the melody is. So that's why, those old Sinatra songs, those old songs that everyone can, even old jingles, you hear those and they're simple, they're easy to remember, and they stick in your brain. And that's why you see it, and you can recollect it really quickly. The simplicity and the format, the formula of the old songs are pretty much not the standard anymore. So I think that's really part of the reason. But also, go and delve into new artists that are not getting the
Yeah.
repetition that we hear, because there's only a few, and you hear them over and over again, which are great for them, because no one's making any money, because no one's buying any CDs or albums like they used to. So it's tough out there. The record industry is completely changed. Record companies are laying off and firing tons of people in the labels and restructuring. So there's no safety anymore in this business. Therefore, that's why I had to put it out independently on my own label, Melody Music, just
Yeah.
because I wanted to get it done. It's like, okay, no one's going to do it for me, so I got to do it myself, and that's kind of where that is. But the norm is different. So I think that's, and a lot of people don't play music instruments anymore, because bands would be in their
Yeah.
studios in the garages, Ohio players, like they were
Oh,
a
yeah.
band, and they were on the road, and all those horn sections, people knew how, I was a French horn player, so the brass players I played in marching band and and concert band and an orchestra, and sang in choir and concert choir. So not only can I read music, but I know how to play instruments and piano and all that stuff. So those people that you can say, oh, I got a great clarinet player that'd be great on this, or, oh, let's do a recorder. Yeah, that's kind of Renaissance. Let's add that. Those are the networks that you can do as a musician. But since so much is tracking and um, um, sampling, and like, oh, I love that organ from that old James Brown, let's slide that in here, as opposed to let's get the real guys and do it ourselves. That that doesn't happen anymore or as often as it did back in the day.
It's yeah. When I think of "Save the Best for Last," I almost and even "Dreamin'" or even "Love Is," I can hear the melody even before the lyrics. That's so interesting you say that. I can literally hear the melody in my head even before the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
So that's yeah, that's
Yeah.
really interesting.